Hi everyone. After my last video on working with remote teams, someone suggested it might be useful to put together some thoughts to help people who maybe never had to work from home before. So I'm going to have a go at just sharing a few thoughts and a few ideas based on my experience of the last 6 years really of having to work from home. So I worked at Rolls-Royce for 26 years and working from home really wasn't a thing at that time. And whenever anyone said they were going to work from home, we thought, oh yeah, right, here we go. But 6 years ago, I had no choice but to start to work from home. So I'm just going to share some of my thoughts, my experiences of what works for me. And I think it's really important that these are things that work for me. They won't necessarily work for everyone. People have different styles and different preferred ways of working, but these have worked for me over the last few years. And if anyone's got other thoughts and things that work for them, then please add them in the comments later on. So I think the first thing really for me was to have a space that was my workspace rather than home, to try and separate out that difference. And when I started, my space was a plastic box with all my stuff in. I put it onto the dining table in the morning, laid it all out, worked in the day, packed it all away back into the box and back under the dining table so that we could have our dinner. So that's how it was for several months before I was fortunate to get an office. So we moved house and I was fortunate to get an office so I could actually shut the door on that space. But if you can set up a dedicated space, that gives you a bit of separation between work and home. So I think that's really my first thought. Another thought is to try and get into a routine. So I now treat this as I would going into an office, a physical office in an organisation. So I'll start going to my office at about 7:45 when my wife goes to work, and I'll kind of work through till, if I'm at home, I'll work through till sort of 4:30, 5 o'clock. Now, those may be shorter hours than I've worked at home, than I worked when I was in an office environment, but I get far more done because I have far fewer interruptions and people coming in and out and so on. So having that routine, I find, really helps me so that I can then, work's finished, then it's family time. So that's another thing that works for me. Having a diary of tasks that I've got to do, I find really helps as well. So I'll have my to-do list. I'll keep my to-do list in a planner. So I'll have what I've got to do this week, meetings and so on, and then I'll have my task lists. So I'll prioritise my task list, then I'll work through those and tick things off. So I work well to lists, or I think I do. I sort of, it gives me a bit of a comfort blanket having a list and priorities. So I'll work to those. But if I've got really particularly important tasks and priorities to work on, I'll actually put them as a diary time in my diary. So from 9 o'clock till 10 o'clock, I'm going to work on this specific task. And I find that I wouldn't miss a meeting or I wouldn't miss a phone call that I put in my diary. And so what that allows me to do, it just gives me a bit more discipline and saves me finding other things to do, because I do get quite easily distracted. So having that discipline of from 9 till 10, I'm working on this specific task, and then I've done it and I'll move on to the next one. I find that really helps with me as well. And particularly at the moment, I'm finding using things from a technological perspective to have virtual meetings and virtual conference calls and virtual coaching. So things like Skype or Zoom, whatever free packages you prefer to use, just actually seeing someone rather than just having the phone call, I think really helps. So use the technology wherever you can, and also use the technology, see if you've got work colleagues and arrange at 10:30, we're going to have just 15 minutes on a conference call together, just almost like a timed coffee break, so that you just get that chance to socialise, and do the same maybe at lunchtimes, so that it builds those breaks in, because I do think it is important to have breaks. But particularly if you're used to working with your colleagues in an office, why not arrange to have a call at a certain time and have a kind of a coffee break? So those are just a few thoughts. If I think of others, I'll put some on later. I'll add them into the comments. But please, if you've got other ideas and other thoughts, put them in the comments, and see you on the other side.